from the News Channel 5 network. This is Score Connect.
Hey, and welcome to Score Connect. I'm your host, Anavia, and we are here today bringing you more stories, resources, advice, and general information from Nashville-based business leaders. We are sponsored by SCORE, which is a national organization of volunteer mentors to help you grow your business or get started as an entrepreneur. Today, we're excited to be learning all about how entrepreneurs and business owners handle retirement planning. I know you're riveted. I know you're very excited for this. Okay. Our guest is already laughing. Chris is already laughing. I know retirement plan is exciting, but it's very important. Today we're joined here by Christopher Tasic, and I want to make sure I get this right, a certified financial planner professional. He provides a fee-based practice with 20 years of experience working with individuals and business owners. And so it's a very specific thing. I wanted to make sure I got it right. Thank you for being here with us today, Chris.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm proud to be here. I've always enjoyed the work SCORE does, and I think it's a great service for entrepreneurs, and it's an honor to be part of this for SCORE in Nashville.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have a lot of support from the community. And of course, you know, on our show, we try to bring in business owners. And the first question I always ask is, how did you find yourself to be a business owner? What drove that motivation?
Sure. So I've always done a lot of volunteer work, going back probably as far as high school, maybe even earlier. My wife and I actually met doing volunteer work. So I always had a desire to go into a business where I would serve others. Most of the work I had before I went out on my own was entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial in nature. And when we decided we were going to start a family, I was doing work where I was traveling quite frequently and wanted a better lifestyle for being a dad and flexibility to do those things, and kind of looked at what I had done background-wise. I majored in finance at NYU, had always been in the financial services industry in one way or shape or another, and sort of spoke to my mentors, and one of them reminded me that I also enjoy teaching. I'm a pretty good teacher.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly honed in on going into financial planning. And as I did it, I kind of expected to start a practice, but I realized I was growing a business like everyone else. And I've walked down that road and seen the challenges.
Surprise, you're a salesperson.
Exactly. And your marketing and IT and everything else. And I realized that I faced the same challenges and hardships other business owners face, and it was great that I had mentors along the way and advisors who were able to pull me out of working in the business where you tend to grind down and to work on my business. And I'm really proud that I've been able to build a business where I can follow along with others now and help them walk down that path as they achieve their goals and hopefully some of their financial and business dreams.
Yeah. And so one of the things you and I were talking, this has been several months ago now when we were talking about having you on the show, because we're coming into the end of the year, we're starting the new year, and a lot of people are making these New Year's resolutions. And one of the things that business owners often get overwhelmed with or maybe even forget about is retirement planning. Because when you work a standard job, a lot of times that 401k just kind of comes with it and it's an easy box to check. But when you own a business, you have to be the one to set up the retirement planning. And if you're not generating a revenue, if you're not paying yourself yet, like that can feel almost too big to be achievable, right? So how do you feel like small business owners, Americans in general, are prepared for retirement planning, especially when we're talking about supplementing Social Security?
Okay, so if you look at data, which is where I tend to go being a numbers guy.
No, really?
Shocking, of course. But yeah, the data doesn't look great. So Vanguard did a study of the average balances across 401k plans. And if you look at the data, there's a segment called the Retirement Red Zone, which Prudential has coined successfully, which talks about folks between ages 55 to 64 who are sort of looking down the barrel
towards retirement.
When do we want to stop? And the average balance for that group is $209,000 in their 401k. As you dig into the data, the median balance is $71,000.
Wow.
And for those who aren't statistical wonks, the median is the midpoint of the data. So what that means is
a lot of people
50%
have less
of the
than
people have
$71,000
or less. So the average income in the U.S., according to Department of Labor, is about $6,250 a month.
Okay.
And the average Social Security payment is going to be about $2,200, about $1,700 a month in retirement. So if you assume you take down maybe a conservative 4% every year out of your retirement account, the person at the median is going to see a retirement income of about $1,950 $1,250 a month.
Wow.
The person at the average, it jumps up to $2,450, but that's a big gap between the average income of $75 or $6,250 a month.
Well, and then
and what are you earning?
Yeah, and when we start to look at what things cost now, inflation recently, even grocery prices, gas prices, housing prices, if you imagine like how far can you make $1,900 to $2,400 a month go?
Right, and we often joke with people, everyone's got a vision of being next to a tiki bar at a beach on retirement, and I tell people you have to make sure you plan so you're not the person behind the tiki bar.
Yes.
While everyone else is there enjoying their retirement and your retirement.
I want to be the person under the umbrella with the sunscreen on because, the tiki bar it doesn't work with me in the paleness of the gym. But I understand it's a good dream. It's a good dream.
Exactly.
Yeah. So people aren't prepared. How do they get prepared? How do they evaluate the options? Like, how do they maybe set that up on behalf of their company for themselves and their employees?
So, in speaking to small business owners directly here, retirement plans have their roots in the tax code. So the IRS, another great acronym, and there'll be a lot of them
I
today.
hope everyone knows the IRS acronym if you're running a business. If not, you're going to want to Google that ASAP. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, the code introduces a whole bunch of new acronyms, so it's kind of an alphabet soup of retirement plans.
Sure.
So we'll stand on the rim and dive into the bowl. There's three main categories of retirement plans. There are individual plans, which may be as simple as you having your own IRA or your own Roth as a sole business owner, or working for someone who doesn't offer a plan. There's plans that sort of amalgamate individual plans into a business grouping, like a set plan or a simple plan, where the employer will contribute money alongside your contributions. And then you move up into what they call defined contribution plans, which normal people know as 401ks. The IRS likes that defined contribution. Basically, that's a plan where you define how much you contribute every paycheck. In some cases, your employer will match that contribution. In some cases, they don't, but that doesn't necessarily negate the value of that plan.
But you're still saving,
if it's
not being matched.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's
and
important
that savings
to start
is important,
soon.
And starting as early as possible in your career is important. And then lastly, there's what we're called defined benefit plans, which we all know as pensions. And as you know, pensions are far and few between these days in the private sector.
I was going to say, there are only certain industries, or when I say industries, like only certain organizations that really offer pensions at this point, right? Because I didn't even consider setting up a pension plan for my small business, with 5 or 6 people that I employ.
Right, and the challenge to a pension plan is the funding is significant, the funding needs. And there are also some hybrid plans where you can in certain businesses can take a 401k plan, a defined contribution plan, put some kind of a defined benefit on top to be able to save more money for retirement. The good news is that there are so many different vehicles for retirement savings right now that there's a plan that suits almost every business out there as you start to look through what's there. And it's important for employers to start these plans, and it's important for employees to take advantage of these plans because, as we discussed earlier, the level of preparedness is really not where I think it needs to be for folks to have the retirement they're expecting.
Yeah, and so when we're thinking about setting that up as a business, right, because I tend to get kind of logistical, I've always give me the exact how-to, right? So they need to go find a financial planner or advisor, and again, I'm trying to use the right terminology, but they need to find someone to help them set that up, and then potentially set it up for just themselves or them in the business. Is that sort of the step? Like, go find someone to help you and then determine which of the 7 different products you just mentioned are the right fit?
Exactly, and you should certainly bring in your tax team because there are always tax implications in retirement plans, and figure out what's a good spot to be, but also look at where the goalpost is going to be a year or 2 from now, and you may want to leapfrog ahead into a little bigger plan than what you need now, so you don't have to change it in a couple of years. But all that's having experts around to help you, and there are plenty of experts out there to help you start a plan.
Because some of them, like a Roth, for example, they have limits, right, on how much you can contribute annually. So if you start with that, it might seem like a lot now, but if it has a limit, maybe in a year or 2, you've outgrown that.
Exactly, and every plan has different limits, and every plan has different eligibility rules and different flavors. So there's quite a lot there to do, but again, there are some great folks out there who can help you, and there's great resources online too if you want to kind of start research on your own and then reach out to your tax advisor or your financial planner.
Yeah, absolutely. So sounds kind of funny, are there trends in retirement planning? Are there things that are you need to be on the lookout for, you mentioned the IRS, but like there are things that happen on the financial level, or like on a financial level or on a government level, that like can cause a ripple effect to what's available to small business owners in retirement planning, right? Like, are there trends there or things that we need to be aware of?
Absolutely. I think one of the trends we're seeing is a push towards employee wellness, financial wellness, and that's a great reason for an employer to adopt a plan outside of the tax benefits they may enjoy. It's a way to make your employees feel more valued. It's a way to retain talent, and a way to certainly level up the talent as you're growing, so you may be able to grow a little bit faster by having a plan that your competition may not offer, or a more robust plan.
So I do want to find out more about that really quickly. I just realized we got to go to break. Let's do that for a moment, and then I want to find out more about how some of those things are rippling through the different retirement plans.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll be here right when you get back. Welcome back to SCORE Connect. I'm your host, Anna Villa, and we are continuing the conversation about retirement planning as a small business owner. We were in the middle of your answer about trends, and we were getting all into the deep water, and I was like, wait, we got to go commercial. But I want to continue to talk about that, because there are a lot of things that are happening that we want to make sure that our viewers are educated about, so that when they're going to get their help, they are coming to the table with the right information.
Absolutely. So in addition to the move towards employee wellness and financial wellness for the country, we're seeing a whole lot of positive government intervention in the retirement planning space. As shocking as this may be to some people, it's a very exciting and heady time to be in the retirement planning business.
Exciting times. I love that there are people like you that exist that are excited about things like this, so that I don't have to be. So I could be like, Chris, you got to do this for me, buddy. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean, you could probably make a case that since 2019, we've seen more changes than we probably saw in the 15 or 20 years prior.
Wow. Okay.
In the retirement planning landscape. So we'll talk a bit later about the federal changes, but states are getting very involved by looking at mandating plans for all businesses above a certain size. Many states have adopted them. Almost twice as many have at least considered it. Tennessee has talked about it. Nothing has come into law yet, but we are seeing it pop up everywhere. The good news about that is it's stimulated the financial tech industry to bring better solutions, enhance the technology, which makes plans easier to manage and administer for owners. And get set up. And then also much easier for participants to access. Almost all enrollment that I see now is done on an app or on a computer.
Okay.
The days of paper and all those things are gone.
This is my payment for my retirement planning. It's 2024. We can click a button now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd say we lagged behind for a while in that. So I'm excited to see that it's led there. There's certainly some work going on to take some of the fees that record keepers and custodians are charging and make them flat fees versus asset-based fees, which again just makes it less expensive to run a plan. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on, and the changes are coming somewhat fast and furiously over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So one of those changes that I've heard about but really don't understand is another fun acronym soup edition, which is the Secure Acts.
Yes.
So what are the Secure Acts? How are they impacting retirement planning? What do we need to know?
Right. So I think in response to some of the data we talked about earlier about the lack of preparedness, and certainly feedback from small business owners to their representatives that it's hard. It's hard to set up a plan. It's hard to understand these rules, and they're kind of costly. Congress got together and put together a bill called the Secure Act, which stands up for setting up every community for retirement enhancement. So we'll stick with secure. Setting
up every community for retirement enhancement. Secure. Okay, I'm going to make a little note.
So back in 2019, they passed Secure Act, which had about 29 provisions, kind of manageable.
Sure.
Although not all of them are in effect yet. And then, of course, in 2022, they came back and added over 90 more provisions, Secure Act 2.0. So we're all kind of sitting on the edge of the chair now for Secure Act 3.0 and 4.0.
Sure.
But they have really dramatically changed, I think, in a great way, the landscape, both for employers who want to set up plans for their businesses and employees who are participating in their plans. The way this kind of works is, if you remember Schoolhouse Rock, your Bill walks up the steps to Capitol Hill.
I'm just a Bill.
Yeah, just
I'm
a Bill
only a
on
Bill.
Capitol Hill. And these bills went through both houses of Congress with bipartisan support.
Okay.
Very quickly signed by the presidents at the time, and went out as law. So once a law is passed, of course, government agencies get involved because they have to translate all of these documents into practical things that financial services industry and others can put into effect and use for folks. So we're waiting on more guidance from the IRS, from the Department of Labor, the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, the Department of Treasury, and other agencies who have oversight on retirement plans. But that's coming pretty quickly. We got an 80-page Christmas present from the IRS with a whole lot of new information. So not all the provisions, all 120 are in effect yet, but they're on the path to get there. So in terms of provisions, rather than go through all 120 in a lightning round.
Let's not, yeah.
I think there's some key ones.
I actually want to know if you could say them all, like in a lightning round, like here they are, bop, 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 bop. Yeah, no, let's not.
I need copious key points. But one of the first things they addressed was how can we make it even easier for small business plans to start up plans, and they put tax credits out. Okay. So there are enhanced tax credits.
Business owners love tax credits.
Absolutely. And they've enhanced the credits that were available from Secure Act 1.0 in 2.0, so many more businesses may be eligible for it for rolling out new plans, but they have also added in credits for existing plans in some cases that may be able to modify their plan and take advantage of some of these credits. I think one of the most important things I saw was a tax credit if you have your plan set up to auto-enroll employees.
Okay.
And I think auto-enrollment is excellent because it makes you, instead of being proactive as an employer or even a business owner, because a business owner is eligible for their own plan, you're reactive. You have to consciously say, okay, no, I don't want to save for retirement. Because on your eligibility date, by the terms of your plan, you're automatically in the plan at some level of contribution.
Awesome. So how do you, when you're talking about like the auto enrollment and contribution and that kind of thing, do you have like can you share like a general range of, if I'm setting up a retirement plan for my business and for my team members, is there a general like range of a percentage of savings for myself, for my team members, or a match? Like obviously you can't give that direct advice to, because it's not an individual business, but like, is it 0.5%? Is it 4%? Is it 800%? Like, there's a big, because obviously any employee is going to be like, the more money you want to give me, the better, right? But like, how can we sort of estimate and say, if I'm planning for my future, this is a good range of money to potentially put back? So
there are a lot of studies that talk about the 10% savings level. Which could be achieved by your contribution, and your employer match. But every circumstance is different. So each individual needs to seek out advice from their own personal advisors, tax advisors on what would work for them. One of the overarching rules, though, is the earlier you start, the better off you are. Time value of money is a wonderful concept. So we like to encourage everyone to participate in the plan, certainly younger people to be as aggressive as their means allow, but folks that are in that red zone also need to be pretty aggressive. Secure Act has made a couple changes there. They've increased the amounts of money most people can save in their plan, and they've also delayed when required minimum distributions, those forced withdrawals you have to take from your plan occur, and that's going to be ongoing until the early 2030s when that age will move up to about 75.
Oh, wow. Is that part of the new Secure Act?
That's part of Secure Act
2.0?
Yeah, so 1.0 moved it a little bit, 2.0 moved it a bit more. And there's also some enhancements in 2.0 for increasing part-time employee involvement.
Okay.
So it's a less time commitment to the firm. These should go in effect, I think they're scheduled for next year. And they'll be tracked with all this new financial tech we have now. Day you get hired, you get put into a system, and if it's an auto-enrollment plan, the part-timer gets auto-enrolled on their eligibility paycheck the same way a full-timer would. And I think part-timers are probably missing a lot of small business retirement planning opportunities inherent on being part-timers. So if you meet the definition under the code, the part-timer can be involved in there.
Can enroll as well.
And there's some other interesting provisions they've put in for participants. So there's a study sort of said that the average American probably can't handle a $450 shock bill that would come, a doctor visit, a vet visit, a parking ticket in Nashville. They've made two provisions. So one is the ability to draw down up to $1,000 a year on an emergency basis And while there may be tax implications in that, there won't be a 10% penalty, which you would have now for an
Yep.
early withdrawal. And secondarily, the ability to build a savings account within the plan you can take money in and out of without penalty over time.
So a lot of really great additions that make it easier to save money, easier to let your employees save money, and to make it easier to access and contribute.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that our audience finds out more about how to get in touch with you when they get back. Join us after the break. Thank you.
Great.
Welcome back to Score Connect, and thank you again for joining us here today. We are finishing up our conversation with Chris Tasic on everything that you would ever need to know about retirement planning, including new additions to our acronym dictionary, which I'm very excited about. Chris, I want to make sure that the audience can learn more information. Where can they find out about you?
Great. So you can find me on the internet at www.tasicfinancial.com, and you can also follow me on LinkedIn, where I post regular and frequent updates and useful information for you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here with us again today. And also, if you want to get more information about getting a free mentor, remember to check us out at nashville.score.org. We're also releasing new podcasts every month, so search for Score Connect wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, for all of the most up-to-date information, tips, resources, and events hosted by Score Nashville, follow us on social media at Score Nashville. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.